Hi frugal friends, and welcome to the YouTube channel Is Fire For Me. As some of you know, my name's Kim and I'm the host of the segment on this channel that we call your Daily Dose of Frugality. If you've been following along with our Daily Dose series, you know that we're working our way through this little book, 365 Ways to Live Cheap by Trent Ham. And so far we've covered 2 full sections. This is going to be a compilation of the appliances section in this little book with all of the tips and tricks on how to save money with our appliances. If you've followed along, you've probably seen these videos, but this would be a good refresher for you. Or if you haven't had a chance to tune in to our Daily Dose of Frugality segment, this will get you caught up so you can tune in every day to find out other ways to live cheap. I hope you enjoy. So tip number 1 in the appliance section is do the research. The biggest mistake you can make when purchasing a new appliance is to head right down to the local appliance store and open your wallet. Do some research into different models and find out more about them. How reliable is the model? Does it do a good job at the task you want? Is it energy efficient? What's a reasonable price for that model? You can find the answers to all of these questions on the internet. Spend half an hour studying archives of consumer reports or other consumer publications and find out what they say about the appliance you're considering buying. Just find an article covering the appliance that you're looking at, see what the study has to say, and find a few models that are appropriate for you, not whatever models the salesperson at the shop wants you to buy. Jesse and I rarely purchase new appliances. We seem to often buy used appliances, or we get appliances when we purchase a home and we just use whatever we have. But I remember one time we were walking through our local hardware store and we weren't really in the market for a new washer and dryer, but we were thinking about upgrading our current model. And I saw the most beautiful teal blue washer and dryer set. And I thought, man, those are really pretty. And I feel like I almost impulse bought a washing machine and a dryer based on how they looked, which is probably not one of the most important features of those 2 appliances. So I definitely wouldn't have been following this principle of doing your research, and I might have wound up with a washer and a dryer that look amazing, but don't operate all that efficiently or effectively. So it's definitely important if you're looking to buy a new appliance for your home that you do a little bit of legwork to make sure that you're getting the model that's going to meet your needs and last you a while and is the most energy efficient model that you can get, so that will save you money as well. So do a little bit of research before you go down. This would be a good time to practice the 30-day rule as well, especially if you have the time and you don't have a refrigerator that just broke that you need to replace immediately. But if you have a little bit of extra time and you can do the research, wait the 30 days, make sure it's a purchase you really want to do. I think it's going to save you some money in the long run because you're going to do a more thorough job of researching as opposed to just having an impulse buy. All right. Number 2 in this section is reliability is the most important feature. The number 1 feature that you should look at when buying a new appliance is reliability. Paying a bit more now for an appliance that will last twice as long is a great way to save money over the long haul. A $500 washer that lasts 10 years is a far better deal than a $350 washer that only lasts 5 years. Neat features are nice, but reliability is the one feature that will help keep money in your pocket over the long haul. I mentioned yesterday that Jesse and I don't often buy new appliances. We take what we can if we buy them used online or if they come with the house that we're in. But I have found that a lot of the older units actually last quite a bit longer. It seems like the second you add more electronic gadgets to the front, there's more fuses that can go out and more things that can break on the display of the washing machine. There's a good crank option for most things. We currently have a dishwasher that has a little crank nozzle with it and then like little physical buttons you push that you can hear them like click in. We currently have a washing machine that is also the same style, a dryer that's very similar. Nothing has an LED front display. And when we've had appliances in the past that have had more of those electronic features, they've often broken. And so we've had to find ways to repair them or fix them. So sometimes I think the older models, they might not be as energy efficient, which I'm sure we'll touch on later, but they often maybe last a little bit longer simply because they're simpler and they have fewer things and mechanisms that can break. So definitely when you're doing your research, if you're getting a new set, make sure you check into reliability. Make sure that if you can afford it, you pay a little bit extra for something that might last you a little bit longer. Or you can go the uber thrifty way that might not save you as much in usage and energy usage over the long haul, but might cost you a little bit less in the meantime and get used appliances. Currently on the third item in this section, which is look for the Energy Star logo. After reliability, the most important feature is energy efficiency. Look for appliances that are Energy Star certified. These appliances use less energy than those without the certification. Also, compare the energy use numbers among models. They're usually stated in kilowatt hours per year. Every kilowatt hour costs you about 10 cents on your electric bill. So if you can get a model that uses 100 fewer kilowatt hours per year, you'll save $10 per year owning that model over its lifetime. That can really add up over the lifetime of an appliance. I did a little bit of legwork a minute ago and hunted around to all of our appliances, and I don't see that any of them have the Energy Star logo. But there is a really impressive resource online. And if you just Google Energy Star, it'll take you right to the site, and you can put in different model numbers and different types of appliances and kind of get a comparison of which ones are better when it comes to energy. So this goes hand in hand with do the research, and reliability is the most important feature. So as you're doing the research, make sure that you're checking out the Energy Star website to see which model, if you're looking to purchase a new model of something, will give you the best bang for your buck when it comes to energy efficiency. This is good for your pocketbook, but it's also good for the environment. As I mentioned previously, Jesse and I haven't purchased a new appliance in quite some time, but we do plan to get a new water heater within the next couple of years, and we will most likely need to upgrade a furnace actually at one of our rental properties. And so between those two appliances, I do plan to look for the one that uses the least amount of energy to get the job done. I'm a big advocate for being a steward of our planet and its resources. And so if you can choose something that uses a little bit less energy, you'll be doing your part there and be saving some money. We're on number 4, which is consider last year's models. When you're shopping for appliances, most of the models that you'll be shown are the current year's models, but most appliance stores often have last year's models still available in the back. Still new, often at a discounted rate. Research last year's models as well, using older issues of Consumer Reports, and if you find one of those for sale at a discounted rate, snap it up. Jesse and I used this theory when we were recently purchasing a mattress for one of our rental properties. We rent out a little cabin on Airbnb, and I wanted it to have a nice, comfortable mattress for us to use when we go out there, and also for our guests. We went to our local mattress store, and they had several options. One side of the store was set up with all of the new mattresses, and then the other side of the store was set up with last year's models. And we trotted right over to that section knowing that we would find something that was really, really good quality, would last us a while, had good ratings and reviews, but was also a little bit more discounted. And sure enough, we found a perfectly wonderful new mattress that was quite a bit cheaper than this year or next year's model. So anytime you can apply this with most any purchase, whether it be a mattress, an appliance, a car, you're going to end up finding that you save some money when you shop last year's model instead of the latest, greatest, and trendiest model. Today we're on number 5 of this section, which is to shop patiently. In order to find the best price for the appliance model you want, you may have to shop at several places. Take your time with this purchase. You're far better off shopping patiently and finding a good price on the model you want than just buying that model at the first place you go, or buying whatever model is on sale at that first store you visit. Another tip, when you know you're about to make the move to replace a major appliance, Watch the flyers for appliance sellers in your area. If you've done your research, you should know the expected price on the models you want. A sale on that model can really pay off. This is a helpful tip if you don't have a broken refrigerator that's full of all of your perishable goods and needs to be replaced immediately. But if it's a planned appliance upgrade and you've done your research and you have some time, you can wait and you can get a better deal. You can often score a really good deal on appliances on Black Friday. Here in the United States, Black Friday is the day that follows or is on Thanksgiving. And if you're someone who doesn't mind going out and shopping on Black Friday, it's a good opportunity to score a really great deal on larger purchases, and sometimes that includes appliances. Another time that our local appliance and hardware stores seem to have sales is around Memorial Day and also around Labor Day. So end of May, beginning of September, and then November, end of November seem to all be really good times to score a good deal on appliances. So again, do your research, make sure you know what model you're looking for, what's going to be the most reliable, what's going to give you the most energy efficiency, and then keep an eye out on those ads and flyers and see when those big sales are happening and score yourself a really good deal. So shop patiently. Today we're on number 6, which is to use cold water for most clothes washing. The Alliance to Save Energy reports that using cold water for most of your clothes washing saves up to $63 per year. That's because 85% of the energy used when washing your clothes is used not by your washing machine, but by the water heater. Most clothes that are not intensely dirty are made just as clean in cold water as in hot water, so give it a try, particularly on your underclothes and towels. If you feel like cold water isn't giving your clothes an appropriate cleaning, use a warm pre-soak. Just fill your washing machine with warm water and let your clothes soak in it a bit before they're properly washed. Interestingly, we seem to only be able to wash our clothes in hot water. And we've checked to see if they're hooked up incorrectly, but everything seems to be hooked up right. But no matter whether I push the cold button or the hot button, the only thing that comes into the water or the washing machine is hot water. So right now, I'm only washing my clothes on hot water because it's the only thing that's available to me. That being said, I would like to get to the bottom of why that's happening and see if we can fix it, because I do think that a cold water wash can clean your clothes sufficiently and also be a little bit gentler on the fibers and on the clothing itself. We do, as I've mentioned, have a property that we rent out on Airbnb, and so several times a week I'm doing the laundry from the Airbnb. I would not want to wash that laundry on cold because, at least in my mind, it feels like it's doing a little bit more from an antimicrobial standpoint if you're using some hot water in there as well with the mechanical agitation. But I could see how this could work really well for all sorts of other things. If it's something that you want a little bit more disinfectant, maybe adding the heat helps, although scientifically I don't know if that's true, but at least it does in my mind. So yeah, give it a try, and if you guys already do this and it's something that you've incorporated into your life for forever, we'd love to hear about it below. Number 7 is to clean out your dryer lint. Does your dryer seem to not work as well as it once did? Do you sometimes have to run a dryer load a second time because the clothes are still damp? That's not only time consuming, but it's also expensive, and the cause is usually dryer lint. It's easy to take care of the problem. Just make sure your dryer's lint trap is clean, use a vacuum cleaner to clean out the lint trap slot, and also make sure that there's no lint caught where the dryer's exhaust leaves your home. You can also pull your dryer out from the wall, disconnect the exhaust pipe, and make sure that it isn't clogged anywhere. And also vacuum inside the dryer through the exhaust hole. So prior to talking to you about cleaning out the dryer lint, I felt like I should go take a look at how much dryer lint we had, knowing that this is one chore that I have a hard time tackling. For whatever reason, there's a few things in the chore department that I just don't enjoy, and so there's a lot of chores I don't enjoy, but there's a few that I just can't seem to get myself to do, and I'm not sure why that is. One of them is taking out the recycle, which thankfully Jesse has picked up the slack there and he takes out the recycle. Another would be cleaning windows. I really like to look through windows, so one would think that I would enjoy cleaning them or having them be cleaned, but it's really hard to muster the energy to clean a window. And for some reason, I rarely clean out the dryer trap, and I don't know why that is. I know that dryer lint can cause house fires. I know that it can be dangerous not to clean out your dryer lint trap. I know that it makes the energy efficiency of your dryer worse. I know it takes longer to dry your clothes. So it makes sense that I would clean out the dryer lint trap. But that being said, I do not. So prior to this, I went and cleaned out the dryer lint trap. And guys, this is really embarrassing, but look at this little lint baby that I pulled out of that dryer lint trap. So this is a combination of lint, pet hair. We have 4 pets and their hair seems to be on all sorts of things, from their blankets to our towels to clothing. So it finds its way into the dryer quite frequently. There's little pieces of grass from our adventures. There's string and little bits of everything. So this was living in my dryer lint trap, just accumulating and collecting and reducing the energy efficiency of our dryer and also posing a safety hazard. So I encourage you, if you like me are bad at doing this chore, to go clean out your dryer lint trap sometime over the next week. I'm actually going to do what they suggested in the book and take the different pieces apart and clean them out a little bit more thoroughly, because I'm guessing that my inattentiveness to this has led to lint collecting in those other spots as well. But this is a very, very easy task to implement. And in tip number 1, I think, was to take those baby steps instead of big steps. So my baby step is going to be to keep my dryer lint trap cleaner. I am making that commitment here online after just showing you the biggest ball of dryer lint ever. And I encourage you to do the same. I think it's pretty simple. If you have access to a dryer and you would like to join me, let's all clean out our dryer lint traps with regularity. Today we're on number 8 of this section, which is make your own powdered laundry detergent. Laundry detergent costs as much as 20 cents per load, but you can easily make your own powdered detergent at home for as little as 2 cents a load. Just take a bar of unscented soap, grate it into flakes using a box grater, then mix those soap flakes with 1 cup of washing soda and a 1/2 cup of borax. You can also add 1/2 cup of an oxygen cleaner like OxiClean, but it works fine without it. You can make multiples of this mix and store it in a large tub. All you need for a load of laundry is 2 tablespoons or 1/8 of a cup of this mix. Leave a small measuring cup right in your storage tub. I'm a little bit surprised that I've never made my own laundry detergent. I've done a lot of other back to the basics kind of things. Like I do a lot of canning and I really like to forage fruit and do other things that seems like it would go hand in hand with making your own laundry detergent, but I've never actually tried. So I am vegan, as some of you might know, and I really wanted to make sure that the products that they were mentioning in here were not treated on animals. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find washing soda and borax that have not been tested on animals. And so I looked up a vegan cruelty-free replacement recipe for this product. And it calls for the soap flakes. It calls for baking soda, which you turn into washing soda by baking it, interestingly. And then it's calling for Epsom salts. So the recipe that I found called for a bar of soap, baking soda, and Epsom salt. And I was going to buy these ingredients and make soap. We don't actually need laundry detergent right now. And Jesse and I are currently trying to see what it feels like to live on a little bit less each month for our food budget. And our food budget includes other things like paper products and toiletries and laundry supplies. So I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional in my frugality around spending in those areas, and I didn't want to go out and buy these ingredients for something that we don't need right now, but I did price them out. So it's $3.99 for a bar of the soap that this recipe that I found recommended. For the Epsom salt, it's $4.79. And then for the baking soda, it was $2.29 to get a cruelty-free version of baking soda. So altogether, that's $11.07, and that's your startup cost. You would have to get a new bar of soap for every recipe that you make, but I do think that the bag of Epsom salt, it only takes a cup for this batch, and I think that that would last you for 3 or 4 batches. And the baking soda, same thing. It would probably last you for 2 or 3 batches. So your startup cost would be $11.07, and at 1/8 of a cup for each serving, you're getting about 48 loads or so from this particular recipe that I found. The Mrs. Meyer's that I typically purchase, which is a liquid version, it's $15.99 and it gives you 64 loads. So I do think that there could be some significant savings in making your own, as long as you also take into consideration time, other equipment, and then make sure that you have a washing machine that can do okay with a powdered detergent as opposed to a liquid detergent. So it will be fun at some point in the future to make my own laundry detergent. And I would love to hear from you if you've made your own, if you make your own regularly, what recipes you use, and if you like it. I would like to do a side-by-side product comparison as well, just to make sure that what I'm making seems to freshen our clothes the way that we like it. So don't use the stove when the microwave will do. For many simple purposes, the microwave oven is much more energy efficient than the stove, often using 75% less energy for the same task and adding far less heat to your house. Use your microwave for tasks such as boiling water, steaming and browning vegetables, cooking rice, and other water-intensive applications. It can reduce your cooking costs by up to 20%. This one's a little bit interesting because I never really thought that the microwave actually saved you money when it came to energy use and things of that nature. I don't think that food cooked in the microwave tends to taste as good as food cooked in the oven or food cooked on the stovetop, but I do tend to use our microwave if I'm reheating something. I don't tend to use the microwave if I'm cooking something from scratch. I usually use the stovetop or the oven. One thing we do often do that's helpful is to use our toaster oven. We have a toaster oven that is pretty big and roomy, and so it actually can fit quite a bit into it, and I find that for small baking jobs it's easier to use the toaster oven than the regular oven because it doesn't have so much space to try and heat up. I do find in the winter time it's nice to use the regular oven because it does a dual purpose. As it's heating up the food, it's also heating up the home and the kitchen. So I think if you plan to do this one, I would do a little bit of research, really think about, is there an energy savings? And then also, what's the opportunity cost if my food doesn't taste quite the way that I would want because the microwave maybe doesn't make things as crispy or as tasty as some of the other appliances that you might choose to use. I would love to hear if you use your microwave more than the oven and the stovetop, and what things you find cook up really well in the microwave, and if you've noticed that there is an energy use difference, or if you've noticed that there is a cost savings. I would love to hear that as well. The 21st tip in this book, and I think the 10th or 11th tip in this section, it's turn on the oven light while cooking. Whenever you open the door on your oven, as much as 25% of the heat inside is lost, and a significant amount of energy is used building that heat again, likely extending your cooking time. Instead of losing heat that way, turn on the oven light while cooking and use a meat thermometer in your food. This way, you can look through the glass on your oven and visually inspect the food inside without opening the door and losing significant heat. This, I think, is another baby step that I could very easily implement. I am a chronic door opener when it comes to baking things in the oven. I tend to be a little bit fussy with food that I'm baking, and so I'll often pull it out and poke at it or move it around or flip it probably more frequently than it needs to be flipped. So I think if you have a working oven light inside your oven, and you can use that to peek inside the door instead of opening the oven up and releasing all of that heat and steam, it's going to serve you in the energy department, the cost department, and then also your glasses won't get so frequently fogged up. There's always a moment between when I take something out of the oven and when I can actually see it if I'm wearing my glasses, because that first release of steam just fogs these babies right up immediately. So I'm sure that only prolongs the time that I'm making the oven door be open and releasing the heat and causing an increase in energy usage. So better for the environment, better for your pocketbook. Use that light inside your oven when possible, and you'll probably see at least a small bit of savings in your energy bill. Number 22 in the book, which is to only wash full loads of dishes or clothes. Instead of just washing clothes or washing dishes when it's most convenient, wait until the loads are truly full before running a cycle. Appliances are designed to handle full loads, so running partial loads is a sure way to let money float out of your pocketbook. According to the Rocky Mountain Institute, an average washing machine costs $150 per year to use. Reducing the number of loads you wash can add up to real money over time. Want something clean right away? Wash that item individually by hand. In our household, the fullness of the dishwasher is an item of slight contention between Jesse and I. I believe that dishwashers should be loaded as fully as possible, in which case, because I'm not a great dishwasher loader, there's often dishes that don't get clean. And so Jesse thinks that dishwashers should be loaded fairly full, but have decent amount of room between each of the dishes. So I'm not entirely sure if we both believe this principle, but kind of see it out in different ways. Jesse's being a way that gets the dishes more clean, mine being a way that gets more dishes in the dishwasher. But I do think that if you are a good and efficient dishwasher loader, and you can find a way to get as many dishes in the dishwasher as possible and have them all get clean, that will save you time and money in the long run. It does feel sometimes that there might be only a few clothes that I want. Maybe there's an outfit that I recently wore that I want to wear again and it got soiled in the meantime and I want to wash it. So sometimes I will wash like a load of clothing that maybe isn't as full as it could be. But for the most part, I think we're pretty good in our household about making sure that we have full loads of laundry and full loads of dishes so that we're not operating the equipment and using the water and using the detergent and all of those things for loads that aren't as full as possible. So let me know if you're an expert dishwasher loader in the comments down below. We are covering use the short cycle. Similar to the idea behind washing only full loads, consider using short cycles on your dishwasher and washing machine, especially when the items that you're washing aren't particularly dirty, such as work clothing that you may wear in an office. Using the short cycle can reduce the cost of an individual load by up to 50% depending on the model. So get in the habit of using the short cycle for most of your machine washing needs. We already do this, it looks like, with our washing machine. And I looked at our dishwasher and it doesn't look like we have a short cycle for the dishwasher. There's just kind of the general cycle. You can bump it up to dirtier if the dishes seem to be really dirty, but for the most part it's just like general wash and you push the go button. But on the washing machine there is like a 2, 4, 6, 8, and I think that indicates the level of dirtiness. If you have it on 8, it seems to take a lot longer than if you have it on the 2. So I just put it on the 2 and that seems to get most all of our clothes washed. So that would be a perfect thing to go check out right after watching this video. Check your dishwasher, check your washing machine. You could even check your dryer and just make sure all of them are on the lowest, shortest setting possible in order to get your clothing and your dishes clean, but with the least amount of energy use. This one is make your own dishwashing detergent. So this is similar to the chapter or the section where we covered make your own laundry detergent. Dishwashing detergent can be made at home with common cleaning supplies. Just mix 1 cup of borax and 1 cup of baking soda in a tub. Some harder water situations may require the addition of a cup or 2 cups of powdered purchased dishwashing detergent. Just put in 2 tablespoons of the powder mix into your dishwasher for each load and save about 15 cents per load. Another tip, instead of using jet dry on the rinse cycle to make your dishes dry, use a couple caps full of vinegar instead. Much cheaper, same effect. I'd be very interested to know if you've experimented with making your own dishwasher detergent. I think that we are going to do that. Again, I've looked up a vegan recipe that doesn't call for borax. I'm not a huge proponent of borax, but I did find an alternative recipe that I think we might try next time we're looking to buy more dishwashing detergent. We have some right now. One thing I did do was actually get a different type of dish soap. So one thing I've been trying to do this year, which our current pandemic situation has kind of gotten in the way of, is use less packaging. So something that I would really like to do is not get so much single-use packaging with different products that I buy. And so I went to a local soap making store and I bought a block of dish soap. So it's to let me use at the sink. So it's a big block of soap and it comes with a little scrubby brush, and I already had a scrubby brush so I didn't have to do that. And then I made a little wooden stand out of some scrap wood that we have in the shop to go under it to make sure that it doesn't sit kind of in its own juices and break down a little bit. So I've got this huge block of soap, and you use your scrubby brush and you get it wet, and then you just scrubby on the top, and then you use that for your pans and the other things that you wash in the sink itself. So this particular bar wasn't inexpensive. It was about $30. So in theory, if you're looking for the most frugal option, you can often get dish soap that maybe you have to use a little bit more of, but it costs you, just a couple of bucks. So this would have to last 10 times as long to be the most frugal option. But I think sometimes when you're trying to be frugal, you have traditional costs, right? Like monetary costs. But then what are those other costs? What are the costs to the environment? And what are the costs to the planet that we live on? If something is being made single-use plastic, it's using resources on the front end and then it has to be disposed of. And recycling doesn't seem to be the thing that it once was. And so I'm a little bit nervous that the more plastic I consume and the more plastic I use, the harder it is on the planet. So this is one way of being frugal in a different type of resource, which would be the environmental cost. But I am interested to hear if you've made your own dishwashing detergent, or if you've made your own soap, or if you've found a really good, low packaging, low cost, good to the environment option. I would love to hear about that as well. So comment below. Tip number 25 in this book, which is don't install your refrigerator next to your dishwasher or oven. Many kitchens have this as the default layout, but if you can avoid it, your energy bill will thank you greatly. The natural heat produced by your dishwasher or oven can add heat to the refrigerator if it's placed nearby, causing the refrigerator to run more frequently to maintain a low temperature. If you can, look for a kitchen layout that places the refrigerator far away from the dishwasher or the oven, allowing your refrigerator to be significantly more energy efficient and thus easier on your wallet. In our kitchen, our oven is right next to our refrigerator, but the dishwasher is actually on the other side of the kitchen. And I run the dishwasher probably every day or every other day simply because of the volume of dishes that we use when we're making meals at home. The oven, however, only runs maybe once or twice a week. We have a really nice little toaster oven unit that we use for smaller batches, and I don't do a ton of baking. I do more stovetop cooking. So for the most part, our oven isn't on as frequently as the dishwasher. So I think having the oven next to the refrigerator in our case doesn't increase our energy usage too much. If the dishwasher, however, was wedged right next to the fridge, I do think that that would be an increased cost. So if you're building your own home or you're looking to buy a home, this would be another area that you could do your research, is just to look at the layout of the appliances in your house, and if you're able, maybe design it so that those heat generating appliances are a little bit farther away from the appliance you use to keep everything nice and cool. Is set your refrigerator to the warmest setting and adjust from there. Many people have their refrigerator and freezer settings much colder than they actually need them to be to keep their food chilled. Instead of keeping your dials turned to the coolest settings, try the opposite. Turn them as high as they can go and see how it meets your needs. If you need to, slowly adjust the temperature downward. A reasonable setting on your refrigerator and your freezer can save significant money over time, as your compressor will kick on much less often and thus save money on energy costs. Another tip: pull out your refrigerator every 6 months and vacuum out the back of it, making sure to clean dust from the coils. This will keep your refrigerator running as efficiently as possible. So I think this is a really good tip, and something that can guide you in this is to have just a little thermometer that's hanging in your refrigerator and another little thermometer in your freezer. With both of those things, you can kind of see what the appropriate temperatures are that's needed to keep your food frozen and also needed to keep your food at a safely cool temperature. So have those kind of hanging inside. Pay attention to how your food seems, and then turn everything kind of as warm as possible to still maintain health safety, but also keep things nice and cool and chilled. I do think that's a really good tip too about making sure that the coils in the back of your refrigerator stay clean. I know last May we moved from a house that we had lived in for about 5 years, and that's something that I had never done. And so I did that cleaning before we moved out so that the tenants would have kind of a fresh slate of which to move in and didn't have to live with our dog hair and our dirt. And so I cleaned out behind several appliances, and I was a little bit mortified to see how much dog hair and dirt and dust and things had gathered back there. So that's something that I think I will put onto my fall cleaning list here at this house, and I will pull it out and clean it out and dive back behind to make sure everything's nice and clean, but also is better for energy efficiency and will save us money. Number 27 is to invest in a deep freezer. If you have space in your kitchen, garage, or basement, invest in a deep freezer. A deep freezer allows you to buy your food in bulk, saving significant amounts of money. For example, by contacting a meat locker directly, you can purchase meat in large quantities directly from the provider, filling up your freezer with meat discounted at 30% or more compared to what you'd pay at the meat counter at the grocery store. See a great deal at the store? You can stock up big time, putting the excess in the freezer for later use. The use of a deep freezer can save approximately 15% on your annual food bill without a major increase in your energy use. We have had a deep freezer, and we've also had an upright freezer, and I actually prefer the upright freezer because it's easier to see what you have. A lot of times with deep freezers, even if you use the little shelves and drawers that they give you, it's really easy to kind of lose track of what's at the bottom of the deep freezer. I do think that having an external freezer, whether that be maybe a fridge freezer unit that you have out in the garage or just a freezer that you have out in the garage, can save you quite a bit of money. Although we don't have meat products in our house, I do use this a lot when I stock up on things that are on sale at the grocery store. Or right now, you can get local berries in season here in the Pacific Northwest, and you can freeze those. We have quite a few raspberries over at one of our rental properties, and I've asked the renters if it's okay for me to come pick them from time to time. They're producing way more than any one person can consume, and so I pick some for me and some for them. And the ones that I pick for us, we eat some of them while they're fresh and ripe and juicy, but I also freeze them for later use in smoothies or desserts. I tend to have a smoothie most every morning. I put a lot of greens in it, which is like the only way that I can find vegetables tolerable because they don't always taste good, although I do like an occasional salad and I do like roasted veggies. But if I want to try and get more kale or mustard greens or spinach in, I put a lot of that in my smoothie, and then I top it with some banana and then some frozen fruit. And the frozen fruit is often fruit that I've collected in season. So around here we have a lot of natural blackberries. We have blueberry bushes here at the house we live in now. We have the raspberries at our old place. And then you can also buy fruit locally from farmers markets. A lot of times it's cheaper if you buy like a huge amount of it and then preserve some of it. And one way of preserving it is by freezing it. A little note about berries: if you do have an external freezer with some extra space, if you put them in there single layer on a cookie sheet, or you can use some other flat surface with wax paper or something, they'll freeze independently of one another and not in like a big clump. And then you take them once they're frozen and you put them into a freezer bag, and then you pop them in the freezer. And so then you can pull out, a handful of 8 berries rather than having this giant clump of berries that you have to like break off parts of for use in your smoothie. So that's just one tip that I use when I'm picking and preserving and freezing the berries that are in season. So I definitely think if you have some extra money and some extra space, investing in either a chest deep freezer or a more stand-up upright freezer is a great option if you want to be able to buy things when they're cheap or in season and be able to preserve them more long-term. On number 28, which is start an automatic appliance replacement fund. One of the sneaky expenses that often starts people sliding down a slippery slope into debt is the unexpected failure of an essential appliance, often at the worst possible time. This usually means that people run out and buy a new appliance on credit without having the money to pay the bill. They are then running short for the next year or so as they pay off that extra bill and hoping nothing else goes wrong while they're paying it off. Here's a better solution. Take tip number 10 and put it to use. Put aside a tiny amount, $10 a week, towards appliance replacement. You've probably already saved that $10 a week by using other tips in this book. If you start doing it now and your refrigerator fails in a year, you'll have $520 already in hand to pay that bill. If the water heater fails 2 years after that, you'll have $1,040 in hand to cover that bill. All it takes is $10 a week, and if you set up the transfer to be automatic, you'll never notice it until you need it, that is. So this is that principle of establishing sinking funds. Jesse and I have sinking funds for several things. We don't specifically have one for appliances, but we do have sinking funds for home repairs for each of our properties. So this property that we have here, plus our long-term rental, plus our vacation rental. And I know there are things that are going to come up at each of those places that we'll need to replace and pay for. I think the thing that will need to be fixed and replaced first on our longer term rental would be the furnace, which I think I mentioned in a previous video. Another thing that will need to be replaced at our short-term Airbnb rental will be the roof, which I know isn't an appliance, but it's still something that we're saving up for. And then here we want to replace the water heater, and then if other appliances wear out, we'll probably find used ones on Craigslist that we'll use in the meantime. But if at some point we wanted to really replace them with nice, high-quality appliances that were new, we would need to establish sinking funds for those things. So I think it's a great idea to save up for future appliances. Do any of you already have sinking funds for appliance replacement? And if so, have you had to use them? Or have you found yourself in a situation where you have had to go out and emergently purchase a new appliance and it has set you back financially? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below, and I appreciate you tuning in. Air dry your clothes instead of using the dryer. An old-fashioned clothesline is one of the best cost-cutting items available to you. At current energy costs, the average dryer eats up 40 cents worth of energy each time you run a load. Hanging your clothes on a clothesline reduces that cost to zero. Over many loads, that adds up to a real savings. Don't have an outside clothesline? Hang one across a spare room in your home or spread the clothes out to dry. The clothes smell better and you save for every 5 dryer loads you hang up. We have used a clothesline in the past at one of our other houses, and we didn't use it at our most recent property because our yard was pretty small. But here we have a bigger yard, and we already have all of the supplies for the clothesline, which we had moved with us from our previous home. And so I convinced Jesse over the weekend to help me hang up a clothesline, and I was able to hang all of our clothes that I washed during that weekend, with the exception of the towels from our Airbnb rental property. I find that when you hang dry towels, they get a little bit crunchy, and not everyone is super amenable to that. So for the enjoyment of our guests, I went ahead and put those through the dryer. But I found that it didn't take hardly any time, and it was actually really enjoyable to stand at the line and intentionally clip each section of, a sheet or a blanket or our socks or whatever onto the clothesline. And then it has a pretty good pulley system to it, and so I was able to put in these little spacers and use the pulley and put out 2 loads at a time. And it took maybe, it was 80 degrees over the weekend, so it was pretty warm where we live, and it maybe took 45 minutes to an hour for the loads to dry, which is basically the same time that they would have spent in the dryer. So I was really excited about doing that, both from a cost-cutting perspective, but also from an energy reduction perspective. The sun is out, let's use it, right? So if the sun is out in your area and you're able to dry your clothes outside, perfect. I do like the idea of also creating a system to dry your clothes inside, especially since most of us keep our homes kind of cozy in the winter. If you have a fireplace or something that's naturally putting off heat, and you can hang your clothes there. I remember growing up, I had a neighbor who had an indoor hanging clothes dryer, and she would put it right in front of her wood stove in the winter, and her little socks would be on it, and it was very sweet to watch her hang dry her clothes and pinch her pennies. And she actually is probably one of the wealthiest people I know. So I think if we can do these cost-cutting measures, it will add up in the end. All right, I will see you back here tomorrow for another Daily Dose of Frugality. We will be launching into a brand new section, and I'm looking forward to it. And if you hang dry your clothes, or if you have tips on how I can get my towels to not be scratchy and also be hang dried, I would love to hear about it below. And I will see you all back here tomorrow.